Hey folks, just wanted to post a quick video to thank you for all your responses to the budget brand ranking videos. Well, there were just two of them, but had some good responses on them. A lot of you told me your stories, gave me your testimony on various brands and experiences with brands and just on budget guitars in general. Always get one or two of the old all Chinese guitars are rubbish comments. Used to those, but by and large most people realize that we are living in pretty much the golden age of budget guitars, where the options and the quality of those options is the highest it's ever been for the money. Still problems and all the QC issues, of course, with those brands, which is nothing that any of us try to deny in any of these videos. However, when you consider those of you who are at least 2 or 3, 4 decades old, or 5 in my case, when you consider what we had to work with in the budget spectrum of musical instruments, when we first started, things are a lot better now. I remember my first acoustic guitar having super high action, basically unplayable, made my fingers bleed. I remember having, a couple of pretty horrific electric guitars back in the day too. So yeah, I think that most of us who have played a little bit and tested out or bought a few guitars that are a few years into this experience realize that a lot of these options, with the caveat that they need to be set up or modded, realize that we're operating in favorable conditions and that there are a lot of interesting options. Case in point, this slick guitar right here, which I've done a bit of setup on, and it's playing a bit more smoothly, although annoyingly it's getting more fret sprout at the bottom here, so I'll have to go over the fret ends a little bit. All normal stuff. Some of you mentioned watching the first video, you called me out on brands I'd forgotten, which I tried to address on the second video. Some of you actually came up with brands that I haven't tried out yet, and I do have sort of a mental list of brands to try out when prices get favorable. I mean, I just don't pay sticker price for anything. It's just something I never do. For instance, this guitar right here, I waited until there was a decent enough sale for me to get one and be able to muck around with it without committing too much to it financially, because I don't do this purely for pleasure. I mean, I have to make a living, so I have to be careful with spending on instruments that I might want to keep, and keep that to a minimum. So I look for favorable deals or blems or seconds or blowouts, that kind of stuff. So some of the brands that some of you mentioned I will get around to. Some of them are on my list. Some of them are maybe instruments I've only had one experience with, and I didn't feel like that was enough criteria to really rate them. And some of them were to do with brands that are more specialized in making acoustic or classical guitars, and I will follow up with a video on those too. A little bit more difficult to put together a good list of really budget classical guitars per se. I mean, we can look in electric guitars. I can give you 4 or 5 companies that make good mod projects for anywhere from 100 to 250. With the acoustic and classical world, though, at the really cheap end of the spectrum, it's a bit more problematic, because an acoustic instrument is a little less forgiving. It has to have acoustic properties and meet physical requirements for it to play. And an electric guitar does as well, but you're not dealing with a soundboard and a sound cavity in most instances. So if you have a block of wood and the action's good and the pickups work, you can make a decent electric guitar out of it. But in the acoustic realm, I think there's a few more nuances and variables that determine whether a guitar is worth it or not. So I'm putting a bit more thought into that, and there are less brands, of course. A lot of your brands, like Donna, even Firefly now, I just heard about their new their new acoustic line, do both, but there are some that only do one. There are slightly less brands, but there are other brands that don't really do electric guitars that do acoustic guitars. So I will put together a ranking list for those as well, and possibly nylon and classical guitars as well. At some point I need to do more with bass guitars as well. I apologize to the bassists among us for neglecting you. I will try to be a bit more inclusive on that note, because I do sometimes get basses in and work on those. The principles are the same. So I'll maybe do one on the bass guitars as well, ukuleles perhaps, banjos, mandolins. We'll see where it goes, but you know, these lists keep changing because stuff keeps happening. I just saw Guitar Max's video on the new line of Firefly acoustics, so now they come into the equation, although they're a bit more expensive. I don't think they are $100 models. I think they're more up in the $250 echelon. But you can see things keep shifting and changing in this world. There's always a new offering. There's always one falling away. And when you think somebody's done, they seem to revive themselves. Like I was on the verge of writing Firefly off. They just don't seem to have done anything over the last couple of years since the initial explosion. But then they just came out with that new rash of, I think they call them FF338 spalted models that I'm seeing now, and also the new acoustic models that they've just released. So yeah, things keep changing. The list, if I bother to make them, is going to shift and change every other week or every other month according to developments in the market or things that I become aware of. So and then there are lots of really tiny little brands on eBay, some of which aren't really brands. They're more stamped distributorships. I do try to include some of the more notable ones, like I've talked about Cozart, and I even mentioned Effin Guitars, which I think you can only buy on eBay, as well as Starshine and Zouwei and those kind of companies, and there are more of them. Those come and go all the time too, so you know, what's current today might not be tomorrow. And I've done reviews already in the past. When I look back into my page of past videos or video history, I have sometimes come across a video I did of something that I don't see anymore or find anymore. So things chop and change quickly in this industry, but I try to stay as current as I can and as the checkbook allows. So if you came up with something or had a suggestion, I certainly will keep it in mind, and at some point hopefully there'll be a video or a review along those lines. But thanks for your feedback on that. I enjoy reading your stories, and a lot of it corroborates what I'm saying. A lot of you had a great experience with particularly the IYV guitars, and told me you found my videos helpful. And then there were one or two people that disagree, that didn't have good experiences, and that's fair. You can only go off of your own experience, so I completely understand that. Just wanted to take the time to thank everybody for you know, sort of tuning in and giving me your take on that list and potential lists that you would make, or suggestions that you would make. Keep them coming. I read them. As you can see, I try to reply to every comment still 4 years in. I still try to do that. So, and I will continue to. So I appreciate your conversation and comment. All right, folks. See you on the next one.